I should have known better than to make a bet with someone like Ethan. We'd been best friends since college, inseparable, chaotic, the kind of friendship people either found magnetic or suspicious. Ethan was the type who never grew up. Loud, flirtatious, impossibly charming, with a jawline that looked carved from mischief itself. He had a habit of leaning too close, laughing too loud, touching too often. And I always let him. Even after I got married. My husband, Mark, trusted Ethan. He didn't see the undercurrent, the little glances that lasted too long, the casual touches that weren't so casual. Maybe he didn't want to see it. Maybe I didn't either. That night, the night that changed everything, started like any other. Too much wine, music low and pulsing, the three of us in our lake house. But Mark had called it early, pleading a morning meeting. Ethan and I stayed up, just us, like so many nights before. Cards were pulled out. A lazy game of strip poker turned to dares. A half-empty bottle of tequila blurred the lines we'd drawn years ago. If I win, Ethan said, eyes gleaming across the table, you have to do whatever I say. No questions asked. I should have laughed it off. I should have known that look. But I nodded, smirking, like it was just another joke between friends. I lost, of course. And Ethan smiled like the devil just handed him permission. So, I said, voice dry. What's my punishment? Ethan leaned back, slow, sipping from his glass. You'll find out. He didn't say it then. He let it hang between us like smoke, thick, inescapable. And I didn't push because some part of me, some quiet, wicked part, wanted to know. Wanted to be told. Wanted to be owned. The air between us shifted. He sat on the couch, legs spread, staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time, or maybe like he'd been seeing me the whole time and was just waiting for me to catch up. Do you ever think about it? He asked suddenly. Me and you. I froze. Not because it shocked me, but because it didn't. All the time, I admitted before I could stop myself. There. The truth. A quiet betrayal hanging between two best friends. Between me and the man who wasn't my husband. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just looked at me like he finally got the answer he'd been waiting for. Like it had always been leading to this. He stood up and walked toward me, and I didn't move. I should have. I should have said something, stopped it. But I just sat there, heart pounding in my throat, skin aching with anticipation. He leaned in, lips just shy of mine. Then maybe it's time you pay your debt. I swallowed. Ethan. You agreed, he said, voice low, almost gentle. One request. No questions. I'm cashing it in. His hand found my wrist, slow and firm. His thumb brushed against my pulse point, and I swear I felt my wedding ring burn on my finger. I'm married, I whispered. And yet, here you are. I hated how right he was. Hated how I didn't pull away. Hated how a single touch from him made my knees feel like sand. He stepped back, eyes burning. You have until tomorrow night. Midnight. My place. Door will be unlocked. Then he left. Just like that. No goodnight. No explanation. Just a challenge hanging in the air like a lit match. I sat there long after the door clicked shut, the cards still spread on the table like witnesses to a crime I hadn't committed. Yet, Mark stirred in the bedroom down the hall. I could hear the sheets shift, his soft exhale. He trusted me. Loved me. We'd built something real, solid, safe. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was Ethan. His mouth close to mine. His breath on my skin. The look in his eyes that said he already knew what decision I'd make. The next morning, nothing was said. Ethan was gone. Mark made coffee and kissed my cheek, and I tried not to flinch. The day passed in a blur. Work calls. Emails. Routine. Normalcy. All of it felt fake, like I was play-acting my own life while something inside me cracked open. At 11:55 p.m., I stood outside Ethan's apartment. I told myself I wasn't going in. I told myself I just needed closure, to say no, to reclaim some piece of loyalty I still believed I had. But the door was unlocked, and I stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind me. Ethan hadn't said a word. The apartment was dim, lit only by the orange flicker of candles on the kitchen counter. The scent of musk and cedarwood hung in the air, intentional, familiar, and far too intimate. My footsteps echoed against the hardwood as I moved further in, pulse thudding against my ribs like a warning I refused to heed. He emerged from the shadows like he'd been waiting there all night. Shirt unbuttoned, collarbones exposed, hair tousled like he hadn't bothered taming it. Or maybe he wanted to look like a fantasy come to life. "Right on time," he said. I couldn't speak. He crossed the room slowly, eyes locked on mine with a quiet, ruthless certainty. There was no hesitation in his movements, no question in what he wanted. And maybe that's what terrified me most, how easily I wanted to be chosen by him. "You came," he said, standing just a breath away. "So no more lies." "I didn't come here for—" "Yes, you did." He tilted his head, amused. "You've been waiting for this longer than you'll admit." I looked away, guilt rising like bile, but Ethan caught my chin with his fingers and brought my gaze back to his. "Don't look away now. Not after everything." "You're not him," I whispered. "No," he said. "I'm not Mark. I'm the one you think about when you're with him." That landed like a slap. It wasn't even cruel. It was just true. He stepped in closer, chest brushing mine. "I've seen the way you look at me. Felt it in the way you flinch when I touch your arm. You want me. You've always wanted me." I hated how fast my breath came. Hated how right he was. I hated the part of me that had fantasized about this very moment, alone in the shower, under the covers, pretending I was still loyal. He reached for the buttons on my shirt, slow and deliberate. "One request," he murmured. "That's all you promised. Let me have it." I should have stopped him. But I didn't. My shirt hit the floor in silence. His fingers were warm, confident, rougher than Mark's. More demanding. He didn't ask for permission. He already had it. I was trembling, part fear, part adrenaline, part hunger I hadn't felt in years. Ethan circled behind me, his hands gliding up my arms, breath hot on the nape of my neck. "This isn't just about sex," he whispered. "You know that." I did. That was the worst part. This wasn't some careless hookup. It was something far more dangerous. Emotional. Inescapable. He kissed the curve of my shoulder, slow and reverent. "Tell me to stop," he said. I couldn't. Instead I turned, faced him, and kissed him back. It wasn't soft. It was years of repressed tension exploding. Our mouths collided like we were trying to erase everything between us, our friendship, my vows, our guilt. He tasted like wine and smoke and bad decisions. He pushed me back against the wall, hands gripping my waist, and I gasped at the sensation. It was rough, real, desperate. His mouth trailed down my neck, and I let my head fall back, fingers digging into his arms. "Ethan," I choked out. "I got you," he whispered. Clothes vanished. Hands explored. Every touch was electric, every kiss punishment and reward. I memorized the texture of his skin, the sound he made when I bit his lip, the heat of his breath when he moaned my name. When he entered me, it wasn't just physical. It was a surrender I couldn't take back. My body arched into his, clinging, needing, betraying everything I thought I was. And it was glorious. I came undone in his arms, mouth open in a silent cry, forehead pressed to his, skin slick with sweat and sin. When it was over, we collapsed against each other, breathing, shaking, alive. He held me like he'd won. Maybe he had. "I should go," I whispered against his chest. He didn't argue, didn't beg, just brushed his fingers through my hair and said, "You'll be back." I stood, pulled on my clothes in silence, avoiding the mirror by the door. I couldn't face myself. Not yet. Outside, the cool night air slapped against my damp skin. I walked to my car with trembling legs, the ghost of his touch still clinging to my hip. As I drove home, the guilt hit me in waves. Mark was asleep when I got in. The apartment smelled like lavender and linen, like something safe and soft and undeserved. I stood in the doorway, watching him sleep. He looked peaceful, trusting. He'd never even suspected. I crawled into bed beside him, careful not to wake him. His arm instinctively draped over me, warm and familiar. But it didn't feel the same. Because now I knew what Ethan felt like, and I wasn't sure I'd ever stop wanting it. I didn't sleep that night. Mark's arm stayed wrapped around my waist, his breathing soft and even. It should have been comforting. It used to be. But now it felt like a chain, a silent weight of everything I had just shattered. In the dark, I could still feel Ethan's fingers on my skin. His lips pressed to the back of my neck. The burn of his voice in my ear, "You'll be back." He was right. The morning came too fast. The light hurt. Mark kissed me before he left for work, his lips brushing mine like we were still okay. Like I hadn't just destroyed the foundation of our marriage with a single, reckless night. "I'll pick up dinner tonight," he said cheerfully. "Let's do something just us." I nodded. I lied. The door clicked shut and the silence that followed felt deafening. I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. My neck was marked, just faint enough to hide, but bold enough to remind. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like something borrowed, something used. I kept checking my phone like I didn't want a message. But I did. Ethan didn't text that morning. Or that afternoon. He waited. It wasn't until after sunset that I finally saw it. "Ethan, still tasting me?" I deleted it immediately. Then undeleted it. Then stared at it like it was a bomb with no timer. I didn't reply. But I thought about it all night. I tried to fuck Mark. Tried to push it all away, bury the guilt under the act of pretending. He was tender, slow, trying to reconnect with something he didn't even know he'd lost. His hands were warm, familiar. But it wasn't the same. I closed my eyes, and all I could see was Ethan. His body, his mouth, the hunger in his eyes when he looked at me like he'd waited years for that moment. I couldn't finish. I faked it. Mark held me like everything was fine. And I hated myself for it. The next day, Ethan sent a photo. Just his mouth, slightly parted, that goddamn smirk tugging at the corner. No words. I didn't reply. But I kept staring. I found myself driving past his place. Not stopping. Just circling, like an addict orbiting the dealer they swore they'd never call again. It wasn't just lust anymore. It was worse. It was craving. By the weekend, I'd lost control. Mark was working late. I told him I had a meeting. I told myself I'd just talk to Ethan. Set boundaries. Make it clear it couldn't happen again. But when Ethan opened the door, I didn't say anything at all. He looked at me like I belonged there. He didn't kiss me. He just stepped aside, letting me walk in. As soon as the door closed behind me, I exhaled a truth I didn't want to name. "Why do you make it so easy to forget who I am?" I asked. He raised an eyebrow. "Maybe you're finally being who you really are." I hated how much sense that made. He poured 2 drinks. We didn't toast. Didn't speak. The tension pulsed between us like a live wire. He touched my knee. Just that. A single, deliberate press of his hand. My whole body responded like I'd been starved. "You can't keep doing this," I whispered. "And yet you came back." "I love him." "I know." He leaned in close, lips ghosting the shell of my ear. "That's what makes it so delicious, doesn't it? That you still chose me." I didn't kiss him. He kissed me. And I let him. This time was different. Slower. Deeper. He stripped me like he was peeling back layers I'd never shown anyone, not even Mark. He kissed every inch of my shame, made it holy. Made it addictive. After, I lay on his chest, heart hammering. His fingers drew circles on my spine. "What happens now?" I asked. "You decide," he said. "You can lie to him. Or you can finally be honest with yourself." I didn't have an answer. I left without one. At home, Mark was waiting with takeout and wine. He looked so proud of himself, smiling like we were still us. I figured we could eat in bed, he said. Do that lazy Sunday night thing you love. I nodded. I smiled. But when he leaned in to kiss me, I flinched, just slightly. His eyes narrowed. Everything okay? I swallowed. Yeah. Just tired. He didn't believe me. I could feel it. Something had cracked, and he was staring straight at it. Later, while he slept, I sat in the kitchen alone. The guilt had a taste now, sweet, heavy, and impossible to wash away. The truth doesn't wait forever. It had been 2 weeks since that night, since I let Ethan touch me again, since I told myself it would be the last time and still went back. 2 weeks of living in 2 separate worlds, one with Mark, polished and stable, the other with Ethan, wild and unraveling. But lies are greedy things. They multiply in silence. Mark noticed. He stopped asking directly, but I could see it in the way he looked at me, like he was trying to find the version of me he used to know beneath the one I had become. We made love once in those 2 weeks. It felt like an apology neither of us could say aloud. I thought I could balance it. Thought I could have Ethan in the shadows and Mark in the light, as if I could split myself in 2 and still be whole. But one night it cracked. I came home late again. Mark was sitting at the table, half-finished whiskey in front of him, the lights off except for the kitchen lamp. His eyes were bloodshot, tired. His jaw was tight. "Where were you?" he asked. "Late meeting," I lied. His stare didn't move. "That's your 3rd late meeting this week." I said nothing. He stood, slowly. "Just tell me. Are you seeing someone?" It hung there like smoke, thick, poisonous. My instinct was to lie. To deny. To protect myself, even if it meant betraying him again. But I couldn't. Not this time. I nodded. He didn't speak. He didn't yell. He just sat down again like the weight of the truth had buckled his knees. "Who is it?" His voice was small. So unlike him. I hesitated. Then, Ethan. The name alone seemed to shatter something in him. He blinked like he hadn't heard me right. "Ethan? Your best friend?" "My friend." I couldn't even respond. "Jesus Christ," he whispered, standing up again, backing away like I was something unrecognizable. "You looked me in the eye every day and pretended nothing was wrong." "I didn't plan this," I said, quietly. "I never meant." "But you did it." His voice cracked. "You chose him. And I did. Over and over again." "I'm sorry," I whispered. He laughed, bitter and broken. "You're sorry? You had every part of me, and you still wanted more." He walked out before I could explain further, though what explanation could ever be enough? The next morning, he was gone. A suitcase was missing. So was his toothbrush. The silence was absolute. I went to Ethan's place. He opened the door shirtless, his hair damp, like he hadn't expected me but was glad I came. "Did you tell him?" he asked. "He found out." Ethan leaned against the frame. And now I don't know who the hell I am anymore." He didn't respond right away. Just stepped aside and let me in. I sat on his couch, feeling like a ghost in my own skin. "You were right," I said. "I couldn't keep pretending." He stood in front of me. "So, what now? You finally going to be with me?" That was the question, wasn't it? I looked up at him. This man I'd loved in silence, in guilt, in lust. He'd always been there, always watching, always waiting. "I don't know," I said honestly. "What we had, it was real. But it was also built on betrayal." Ethan knelt in front of me, fingers sliding into mine. "We can start over. No more hiding. No more guilt." I wanted to believe that. I wanted to be that brave. But something inside me twisted. "I don't think I'm ready," I whispered. He pulled back slightly. "You're not going back to him, are you?" "No. That chapter's over. But maybe I need to be alone for once. To figure out who I am without you. Without him." Ethan exhaled hard. "You were never just mine or his. You're still yours." The words landed. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I breathed deeply. I stood. Kissed him. Slow, soft, thankful. Maybe we'll find our way back, I said. Maybe, he replied. I left before I could change my mind. The next few weeks were brutal. Mark didn't call. Ethan stopped texting. The silence I had once feared became the space I needed. I started therapy. I told the truth out loud. Not just about the affair, but about myself, about how I'd been hiding in the comfort of loyalty, afraid to admit I wanted something different. Something riskier. Something more. I learned how to sit with my shame. How to stop running from it. I reached out to Mark eventually, just a letter. No expectations. Just an apology, raw and unfiltered. He didn't respond. But I didn't need him to. I walked the lake trail alone the following Sunday, the air cool against my skin, the sky wide and unjudging. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was falling. I felt like I was starting,